our three presenters that we usually have with us on all these briefings. I think you guys are very aware of them now. So I will ask them to jump right in, starting with our Chief Met.
Hi, good afternoon, Belize. Good afternoon, members of the media. Just give me 1 second to share my screen. Can you confirm that you're seeing my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So I start off again with presenting what we have on our National Met Service webpage, which is nms.gov.bc. Currently, we are issuing several alerts in relation to what is now Tropical Storm Sara. That includes an excessive rainfall warning, a tropical storm warning, of course, and we also have a small crop warning in effect for the country. On the front page, as I have said before, we have forecasts for each municipality. I won't go into detail. We also have the network of automatic weather stations that this department manages, expanding across the country. So for our users, if you want real-time information on what's happening with the rainfall, with the winds in association with the system, please visit our website. This map is very interactive. You can click on any of these dots. It will bring up the weather situation in a particular location. So please make use of the information that you have available to you. Of course, we do have our radar imagery, which at the moment I am loading, showing rainfall across most of the coastal parts of the country. And these are outer bands associated with Tropical Storm Sara. So you can see from the loop that I'm presenting here, this is a 400-kilometer loop. Sara is somewhere in this location, the center, but we have bands expanding all the way up into Belize and even into Yucatan. And that is what is affecting our weather at the moment with these showers and periods of rain across the country. We also present on our webpage a 4-day forecast. So you can see that for the next 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, we are going for cloudy conditions with showers widespread across the country. But you can see that weather conditions will improve on Monday and Tuesday after the system has moved west of our area. So again, I remind our viewers that this information is updated constantly and it is accessible to the public. We also, of course, have our storm tracking tool and link to that webpage, which shows the cone of uncertainty with Tropical Storm Sara, extending from
Chief Met, you froze. We lost you at extending.
one that I've just showed you. So what I'm presenting here is the rainfall accumulation for the past, well, from about midday yesterday, which is about the past 24 hours.
Hold on,
And
sir. We had lost you at cone. You froze for a moment at when you were talking about the cone. Would
I
you
am back.
just bring it back? Expanding was the last word you said.
Okay, so I will replay this image. I was showing the cone of uncertainty associated with Sara and showing that it covers from about southern Belize to just almost the full north of the country. So there is still some uncertainty on where the system will track, but the most probable track, which is at the center of the cone, is that the system goes and makes landfall somewhere between Dangriga and the Placencia, based on this current forecast. Am I good? And the timing
Yes.
is on Sunday morning, according to this forecast. Next, I am presenting information from our database that stores all the data that you saw on our front page that is shown there in real time. So what I'm presenting on the screen is the 24-hour rainfall accumulation since midday yesterday, Thursday. And what you can see, I'll zoom in a bit, is that the western part of the country where the flooding was reported last night received the highest accumulation with rainfalls totaling up to about almost 4 inches. Bullet Tree Falls recorded 94.8 millimeter, 96.6 in Santa Elena. And most of this occurred during that time of the heavy rainfall, resulting in flash flooding in those areas. The rest of the country has been getting rainfall as well, but not as high. We have about 1 to 2 inches over the northeastern parts of the country, including Belize City, Ladyville, and San Pedro. Next, I will present the broad satellite imagery across the entire Atlantic Basin, the Caribbean Sea, and Gulf of Mexico. And the feature of interest, of course, is what is occurring near to us here on the western side of the image. We have Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, the Gulf of Honduras, and Yucatan, and you can see deep convective activity associated with Tropical Storm Sara. A closer, and I'm sorry about the sound that is kind of, okay, it's good now. A closer close-up of Sara shows activity, bands of showers that I showed you on radar, but this is from a satellite perspective now. And the circulation of the system is somewhere within this area at the moment. And you can see that we have convective activity coming across into the area associated with this tropical storm. In terms of the models, this is what the global forecasting system, also referred to as the American model, had as of midday today, showing pretty much what is occurring in terms of the curve bandings with Sara and the low center somewhere over northern or just north of, on the north coast of Honduras. If I forward this image in time, you will see that the system kind of stalled there, which is currently what has been occurring. The latest update has it moving just at 2 miles per hour and still moving to the west with maximum winds of 50 miles per hour. So for tomorrow morning, according to the GFS model, the low will remain pretty much where it is, but we will continue to have bands of showers and thunderstorms coming across Belize. And then if I advance the frame 24 hours later, which is 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, you can see the low pressure center now along the coast of Belize. And according to this model, it will be a bit weaker. Again, like I said yesterday, models are just an estimate of what can occur. And after that, I will move forward a bit just to show you that we expect conditions to clear up after the system had moved away. In terms of the European model, it had the center of the low pressure system, or sorry, of Sara, or the low associated with it, just off Honduras as we'd expect, and advancing in time. This is tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., pretty much at the same location, which is an indication that yes, the system will pretty much meander in that area for the next 24 hours. After that, it makes a gradual move to the west-northwest, and according to this model, moves along the coast or near the coast of Belize, again early Sunday morning. So both of these models are indicating that the system will eventually will stall for the next 24 hours or meander pretty much where it is, and then begin to make a move to the west-northwest towards our shores later on Saturday, with a potential landfall on Sunday morning, late, could be before 6 a.m., between, I would say, 3 a.m. and midday on Sunday. It is still, let's give ourselves some leeway there now. Important to note is that both models show significant rainfall and outer bands from the system affecting the country from today. And we have observed winds gusting to near tropical storm force winds already in those bands. One of our stations out in the Keys recorded, I believe, about 32 to 35 knots, which is almost at the lower threshold of tropical storm force winds. And that is precisely why the country is currently under a tropical storm warning, because we expect to have sustained or even gusts and possible sustained winds of tropical storm force in these outer bands associated with tropical storm Sara. In terms of the update, I don't have that exact data, but like I said, it is just over 100 miles to the southeast of Belize City and moving to the west at 2 miles per hour, basically stalled where it is. It is forecast to remain there for about 24 hours in that general area, and then begin to make a turn to the west-northwest. Given the fact that it's currently over or near land, and due to the interaction with the terrain of Honduras, we do not expect significant strengthening, at least for the next 24 hours. After the system emerge off the coast of Honduras, or sorry, move away, it will have a short window of opportunity to intensify before reaching us. And based on that, the current forecast has it reaching our shores as a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. Again, we don't want to stick too much to exact figures, so we advise residents to expect at least 50 to 70 miles per hour, and potentially, as worst case scenario, a Category 1 hurricane of winds of 74 miles per hour. That's the worst case, and that's not in the forecast. But just to err on the side of caution, we would advise residents that that's a remote possibility that you should bear in mind. In terms of rainfall forecast, this is the 48 hours accumulation forecasted from 6 this morning until 6 on Sunday morning, indicating that we can still expect at least another up to about 10 inches of rainfall, mostly over the south according to this model. From this system, again, I will caution, it's just a model. We saw what occurred yesterday in San Ignacio, in the San Ignacio Santa Elena area, where we had significant rainfall. So it doesn't mean that these rains will occur precisely in this location, and that is the reason why we have an excessive rainfall warning for the entire coast of Belize at the moment. One last tool that we use is a Hydrological tool to show also the potential movement and strength of the system, and again indicating that on early Sunday morning we could have potential landfall somewhere between the Angriga and Placencia with a tropical storm of 60-mile-per-hour winds, and at that moment it will be moving to the west-northwest according to this forecast at 6 miles per hour. Therefore, it should be crossing the country in about 12 hours or so, sorry, in about 6 hours or so, and by 6 in the evening the system is expected to be well to the west of us over Guatemala. I will end my presentation at this point and hand it back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Met. We go right into Ms. Tenniel, please. Updates from hydrology.
So, good afternoon. Thank you. Going right into sharing my screen, if you can just give me a moment to do that. Just want to confirm that you're seeing my screen.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what you are seeing is the updated flood forecast for today. We still have our flood warnings in effect for the Rio Hondo, the Macal, Mopan, and Belize rivers. Of interesting concern is that on the Belize River, the levels at the Crooked Tree Lagoon are increasing, but they are expected to remain below the causeway. The tree dam facilities are still spilling, and what we are seeing in the north is the decreasing flood levels, which is expected at Blue Creek, Santa Cruz, San Antonio, San Ramon. And at Douglas, we're now seeing those floodwaters increasing towards the coast. Moving right into our flash flooding update, as you can see, the soil moisture is very high and saturated in this central region of the country. We do not have any imminent flash flood threats in any of our model time series, which is 1, 3, and 6 hour. Same is for the persistent flash flood threats and for our flash flood guidance. Of note, we are seeing positive indications for landslides in the country. You can see it here for Honduras, but for Belize, we just have some areas in the north that we will need to be monitoring for our landslides. Moving forward to our outlook in terms of stream flow, utilizing the Dewitra system that is in place in the Caribbean, we have a system on the New River And as you're seeing, these little yellow dots indicate all the stations that we have available on the New River. And the color indicates that the river levels are elevated. And as the thresholds for flooding are reached, this will change. So this operates in a sort of a traffic light. Green, you're okay. White, nothing to worry about. Yellow is like amber, and then red is flooding. So we're expecting that a 2-year event to occur in the New River watershed. Utilizing our platform on the GeoGlows, we're seeing here moving into Sunday, where most of the country, these systems or river systems will be under what is considered a 2-year flood event. And for the discharge outlook, we're seeing that more or less for the New River, we're going to see peak of the flood well into next week. And as well for the Rio Hondo and for the Belize River a little bit later. But these, I want to reiterate that these are models. These are based on the situation right now, and these will be updated accordingly to inform the public with the most accurate information. The impact to water resources is that, as we know from the swollen rivers and the heavy rainfall that can be expected, flooding is likely, and we need to look out for debris that will travel along these river systems, as well as for areas that experience urban flooding. This is likely to occur. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Neil. Mr. Mendez?
Okay, thank you. Let me just share my screen. Okay, thank you. As you've heard from the hydrology and meteorology departments, in response, what we have been doing at the National Emergency Management Organization is to ensure that all our emergency operations centers across the country remain on standby. All our district coordinators are on duty and are prepared to respond to any requests for assistance that may arrive at our offices. All our national committees have met. They are prepared to implement operational plans as necessary. For us here at the NEMO Secretariat, we continue to monitor in collaboration with the hydrology and meteorology departments, and we are prepared to support any response as required. Again, we are anticipating high rainfall and strong winds, and we are preparing for potential flooding in parts of the country. Points to note, as we have been indicating in the advisories, all interests, especially those in southern Belize, must pay close attention to this system and need to prepare the emergency plans now. Persons living in areas under flood warning must remain vigilant and be prepared to implement their emergency plans as necessary. We are asking the organizers of public events to postpone their events until all clear is given in the interest of public safety. We are also asking business owners to update their business continuity plans and be prepared to implement them. Business owners in affected areas are also being asked to ensure the safety of their employees. Also, considering that the road conditions are very slippery, we are asking all motorists to drive with extreme care to avoid accidents. Other things to note, we have received information that the PGIA will continue to function today as normal. Operations on Saturday may be impacted, so passengers are asked to expect delays. This will be reviewed tomorrow and will be updated as necessary, so please look out for a statement from the Department of Civil Aviation. Also, water taxis will continue to operate today. Operations will close at midday tomorrow. Also, please expect a note coming out from the Belize Port Authority. Ports also will operate as normal today, but these will also cease at midday tomorrow. Again, listen out for a statement from the Belize Port Authority. An update on bus operations will be sent out later today. Again, these are the numbers for our district coordinators. We have shared this in all our advisories. These are the people who are on duty and will remain on duty as long as necessary. And with that, I close my component of the session. Over to you, Mr. Tina.
Awesome. Thank you, presenters. We now open the floor for media. If you can kindly raise your hands, I'll call on you. Okay, Paul, please go ahead. Paul, you're muted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Excellent. So just one of my first questions. I think yesterday there were we received information that there were no and correct me if I'm wrong, that there weren't going to be any there's any indication of flash flooding. Yet what we saw in San Ignacio in the Bullet area were flash floods, or at least one occurrence of flash floods. Can we speak to what happened there in terms of not having that information out ahead? I'm not sure if it was, and if it was, where can people access that sort of information?
Okay, thank you, Paul, for your question. What happened is that the platform that we're running, it has size limitations, and it's not just size limitations for Belize, it's for the entire Central American region. And the issue is that some of these mini watershed sizes are computationally too large for these systems to address. And we do find other ways of indicating whether that system will be flooded, which is why we had additionally put out the flood warning for the Mopan River and the Macal and including the Belize River system in this area. We might not be able to say, we don't want the public to misunderstand that flood warnings are just for riverine flooding or rainfall associated flooding. Flooding is flooding. It doesn't matter what area or what component of flooding you're speaking about. So flash flooding is included in that flood warning. So I hope I answered your question, Paul.
Yeah, I believe you provided some clarity. You provided some clarity there. Just another question for NEMO in terms of that community. Has anything been activated to, I don't know, do some assessments in that area?
Yes, our officers have visited the area. They have been working with the affected persons, and as I stated, if there's any request for assistance or any request for shelters, these would be addressed immediately. Yes, our officers are aware of it. They were aware of it last night, and they have been keeping us updated and were prepared to respond as necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Jules?
Yes, hello. Good afternoon. So if I could, first of all, Chief Hydrologist, if you could just speak about what I know you said the rivers were at Bangful, the Mopan and Macal were at Bangful, but have you all assessed what happened, what exactly happened? I know there was a heavy downpour from 4 p.m., but do we know exactly what happened there?
Okay, thank you for your question, Jules. What we determined happened is that, recall earlier this week, there was about 14 inches of rainfall that was received in the Maya Mountains in 2 different spurts. I can't recall it exactly, but that was received overnight. And then we received additional rainfall between yesterday morning and this morning. So what you're seeing is an accumulation of these floodwaters making their ways down these streams. They will not all come down at once. They will come down in waves according to the bankful stage. And bankful means that the river cannot take anymore. And when it cannot take anymore, then it will basically flow overland or travel very rapidly down the system. So what we have determined is that you're seeing the accumulation and the different flood waves coming down. On Monday, it was the Rio On that was flooded. The next subsequent days, it was the Guacamayo area in the Maya Mountains. And then we went back to the Rio On at certain points in time. So what we're seeing are these different flood waves coming down the riverine systems according to what the river channel can tolerate, and what it can't will spill over, and depending on the volume, it will then turn into a flash flood.
Okay, I thank you so much. That's very helpful. If I could, Chief Met, please speak about, first of all, we see that the storm is, it looks like it's top heavy. Explain where the winds are concentrated, if you can, um, in relation to where the eye is and what's expected to make landfall between Dangriga and Placencia. And so, who should be feeling the greatest impacts of the at landfall, especially for those in the closest population center, which is Belize City, the closest coastal population center, which is in Belize City, because some people might hear that, well, it dropped between Dangriga and Placencia, so we good. And the second related question is, what storm surge should be expected, and where should that storm surge be expected? And then, if you could, we see that it's just sitting. It has stalled, as you said it would. It has stalled, and it's just pounding northern Honduras. But so, will some steering pattern or system appear, which will make it not just sit down over Belize and just move off in, as you said, 6 hours?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Jules. You're hearing me, right?
Crystal clear.
Thank you. So yes, I'll start with your last question first. In terms of steering, the system basically was being steered, or is being steered actually, by a high pressure ridge to the north of it and to the northwest. As I have stated in these briefings previously, a ridge is like a mountain. So because that system is kind of to the northwest of it, it is preventing it from advancing further westward. It's blocking it, so to speak, and keeping it there for now. The forecast is for that ridge to shift to the northeast. Therefore, like your mountain is moving out of the way and allowing the system then to push up to the west-northwest at a faster speed. So that's what we expect. We don't expect it to stall over us, as it is doing right now over Honduras. We expect it to move across Belize at about 6 to 10 miles per hour speed and be away from us by late on Sunday. Now, in terms of what impacts we expect, the official forecast is for the system to make landfall at wind speeds of 60 miles per hour. I like to give a little variance to that. So let's say 60 to 70, or even minor or category 1. If the waters are warm enough, and if the time is long enough, it has enough time to see over those waters, there's always a small chance it could intensify a bit further or stronger than what the official forecast is going for. But let's keep with the official. Based on what the official forecast is saying, it will make landfall somewhere between Dangriga and Placencia, like I said, which means that the strong tropical storm force winds, which are about between 50 to 73 miles per hour, will occur pretty much near the center, about 20 to 25 miles near that center. The weaker tropical storm force winds for persons in Belize City and further north will be about 39 miles per hour and 50 miles per hour, and that's what Belize City residents would experience. Most of this, in my estimates, would be in gusts, especially north of Belize. Could get tropical storm force winds, not sustained, but in gusts during showers and thunderstorms. So that's what we expect in terms of winds. In terms of storm surge, the official forecast is for about 1 to 3 feet storm surge. That 3 feet is on the upper end, that would indicate like a category 1 hurricane. If it's a tropical storm, it would be perhaps less than 3 feet, between 1 and less than 3. But that would occur again in a very small area just north of where the center makes landfall. I mean, I don't want to pinpoint a central location, and I don't want to call any specific village because these things could wobble a bit and it could shift. But in a very small area just north of that center, you could expect that storm surge to occur.
Okay, and if I could hurriedly throw in something else, do you have any figures on Honduras rainfall? What sort of rainfall they have been receiving?
I don't have any official figures. Sorry.
Then, are you able to say which island experienced those tropical storm force winds?
Islands in Honduras?
Oh, I heard you say that one of the islands in Belize, reporting from the weather station, received tropical storm force level winds already.
Not tropical storm force. Near tropical storm force.
Okay,
I
fine.
will get back to you with the exact location.
Yeah, all right, good, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jules. Marisol?
Hi, good afternoon. Mr. Neil, I'm not sure if I missed it, but did you speak about the potential for the rain coming down from neighboring countries and continuing or impacting rather the areas in the Cayo district that saw that heavy rainfall last night and then obviously coming all the way to the sea?
Hi, Ms. Marisol. Thank you. I didn't mention it explicitly, but it was implied. And so thank you for pointing that out. We do always have to consider in these flooding, especially for Belize, as we are the most downstream country, that we have to consider the rainfall being received in these other countries. And that is why in my presentation, I said that we would be seeing flooding in the north, as I have looked at one of the Belize, the Rio Hondo, and the New River, that we're seeing that we're having these 2-year return events or more into next week. And that is based on the system already passing us and the rainfall that is expected in those countries. But coming back to what we should expect, it doesn't differ. Those systems in the north are already saturated. There's not much more that they can take. And usually what is the behavior with additional rainfall is that when the water can no longer spread out to the lower regions, it then increases in height. So this is what we can expect in the north, that from the central to the north, that we would be seeing an increase in the height of the flood levels. For the south of the country, as Chief Met said, the corner, the area of interest at this time is between Belize City southward. We should expect, especially for Belize City, that we will be seeing what we refer to as local flooding, flood-prone areas, urban flooding, given the volume of rainfall that is expected. In the south with the rivers, they are very much quiet at this time, so they have some capacity to absorb the rainfall that will be coming, but it won't be able to accept or maintain all. So we do expect flooding as well in those areas.
Thank you. And then Chief Met, you said that the time for projected landfall has been brought up, right?
That's right.
Are you able to say what is contributing to that? And that's my last question. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Marisol. As I have indicated from yesterday, each model run has been showing the system coming in a bit earlier. So it is variances in the steering currents. Originally, the forecast was suggesting that high pressure ridge that is blocking it would remain there for a bit longer, and that is no longer the case. And so we expect it to move off of Honduras by tomorrow afternoon, or off the coast from where it currently is, and begin advancing. And that's precisely why it is coming in a bit earlier than was initially forecasted.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Do we have any more questions?
I see there was one question in the chat, Miss
Yes.
Adina.
Yes, I'm
Um,
seeing it. I'm just
Yes, sorry.
San Pedro's son. Do you want
Yes.
to go
Yes,
ahead?
my apologies. I was having an issue with the internet on our end. My name is Matthew. I'm the
Okay.
one of the new reporters at the San Pedro Sun. So I just have a couple of real quick questions. What sort of resources will be available for residents needing assistance during the storm?
okay, I can answer that question. Number one, shelters will be made available to persons within the storm as needed. Again, like I reported, all of the district committees are on standby. The shelters are being prepared, and if there's a need to open them, they will be opened immediately to provide safe refuge to persons who may need it. As the storm continues, if there's a need to provide persons with food supply or water supply or cleaning supplies, those will also be provided. At the post-event, assessments will be conducted, and the damage assessment and needs analysis team will be out determining what needs there are and doing then preparing support to those persons who were affected.
Okay. And then what lessons from previous storms you guys have learned that you're being able to apply to this kind of a situation to make preparations easier and smoother across the country?
That is a very broad question because there are many things that we have all learned over time.
Yeah.
I will only speak on behalf of NEMO, and if my colleagues may choose to add it. What we can say is, number one, that we have learned to be better at communication. You will know that we are now providing advisories in many different formats because we need people to get these quickly as possible and in different languages. So we have been able to get this out in English and Spanish, and so that has been one of the biggest lessons that we have learned. And constant engagement with the public is important. So that for us has been one of our biggest learning lessons.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions?
Since it's only 2:09 and you say you may have finished at 45 minutes, I just have one more. If
Go
I
ahead,
could,
Jules.
Mr. Gordon, if I could just ask you for an update of the question I asked yesterday about are there factors still working in our favor to make this storm as low impact as possible when it reaches our shore, even as it works in our favor and sadly very much against those of Honduras, which continues to take a pounding?
Yes, Jules. The most significant factor that is preventing intensification with the system is the interaction with land. So that's what is working in our favor. The closer and the longer it stays near Honduras, the core of the system is being disrupted, or the circulation is being disrupted by the terrain of that country, no? And of course, like we always say, the systems need energy from the ocean surface for it to intensify. So that's the most significant factor. After it emerges, like I said, or moves away from the coast, there will not be a lot of time for it to gain significant strength. And again, that's also in our favor. So those are the two main factors. Thank you.
Is there any single thing that made you all upgrade the expected landfall? I think the original forecast yesterday was 50 miles per hour, expected miles winds when it arrives, but now it has been upgraded. Is there any single weather variable that accounts for that change?
That's based on what the model are forecasting.
Okay, but it is fueled by the fact that they expect it to move more suddenly off the coast of Honduras.
Yes, that's a factor.
Okay, thanks, Monique. Nicole. Sorry.
Thank you to Jules, and thank you to our other media hosts. Thank you, Billy, for tuning in. I hope that you continue to follow our latest updates. We'll be sharing them every so often on the NEMO on the Met pages, so please follow us. With that, I will end today's press briefing. I urge you to please prepare and to remain safe. Thank you.